So why a DLL? So DLLs have more control over how they're built. So in Unity, the default DLL, you can't change the properties of how it's built. Whereas with DLL, you can change multiple different parts of that DLL and how it's built, depending on how you want it set up. In terms of how it reacts in Unity, first you would have to manually build by hitting build solution. And on the output, this worked. And then you would be imported by Unity, and for just say a test, let's add the player script. See, there's a small little white page icon next to the player. That's just what the default DLL components look like compared to the C# little notation on the white page, compared to something that is made with the Unity based DLL, which you make using right click, create C# script. I'm going to remove those. So in terms of how the DLL interacts with Unity, it would be like how you would normally program. But the main reason of using a DLL over coding it like you would normally in Unity is you get the option to use C# 6.0, where Unity is on C# 3. There's not real much in terms of differences in the actual core language, but more syntax and little helpful bits you can do within it. So in C# 6 there's this notation here, and it's essentially like a method. So we could convert this statement body. So this is how you would normally get something as a property. This is how it was first programmed, because it's a lot easier to find the weapon socket through this than just returning a normal game object. It's just something to make reading what you're doing a bit easier. But using this extension called ReSharper, you don't have to have this extension for it to work, but it's a lot easier to. You can change it to an expression body, is what this is. Essentially it's like a method, but when this is called, it goes, oh, it's not actually the weapon socket, it's the game object. But this can also be used for mathematics as well, which is very useful if you've got a very constant calculation that needs to be done. So I'm trying to find it here. Here it is. So semi-complicated math equation that is used to calculate how far up to position the game object when it hits the ground. But instead of putting this into a method and keep on having to return it all and again, you simply declare it like this. It doesn't change. The variables change, but it's a lot easier to see and to figure out. Another thing with C# 6.0, which is very useful, is this operator here. It's essentially it's a null checks, but instead of having to write checking to see if the current weapon is null, then if it isn't, then do this, and doing it over and over again. This question mark before the dot, it essentially is if this is null, return false. And you can keep on adding it on and on and on and on. Is if the possibility of the object is null, and if it's null, everything's returned back false. But if it's not, it just keep on going until it hits the end method or variable, which is very useful. And also using a DLL over the Unity compiled DLL is slightly more optimized, not big enough to give a huge performance impact, but it's there, why not take it?